that was my bad. Sorry. The good news is that it all equates out basically. So later on in the program, when you think it's too fast, chances are all of your fellow students will think it's too fast. But right now we're just getting over that initial learning curve, and that's okay. If you take nothing else from class today, this is the most important concept. If you do not get any of the HTML, any of the CSS, any of the technical concepts, anything on your Mac, you have to stop me to ask questions. So I can't know if a student is struggling unless they ask a question or tell me they're lost, right? And without knowing that you're lost, I can't really know where we lost you or how to get you back on track. And if you let that wait until the end of class, the daily feedback form is only an opportunity to help, we take that feedback and we incorporate it for the next class. But if you feel lost in the first 10 minutes, say it right then. Say, I don't get this. Say, I don't know what I'm not getting. I know I'm not getting it, right? And we can pull that apart and figure out where we lost you and go back and cover those concepts. Now, yesterday was an example of when a lot of people felt lost, and so we need to regroup today, right the ship, get the train back on the tracks, however you want to say it, and say, okay, we need to recap here and focus back up. But chances are where you did get lost may be a tiny little thing that only takes 30 seconds to get you back on track. And if not, we can go into a breakout room with you and the TA, and you guys can figure out where that is, right? So if you don't feel comfortable asking the question and interrupting me, you can DM me on Slack, or you can DM the TA, and Caitlin has full instructions to interrupt me and say, Max, you're talking too much. I've got a question from a student. And they don't even have to name who the student is. The TA doesn't. But the most important thing is that your questions are getting voiced here. So you just have to be a little bit more vocal on, like, I'm not getting this, so you don't fall into that trap of feeling like you can't speak up just because class is virtual. And then I've touched on this several times, but if you're lost, chances are some other student got lost as well. So you speaking up and letting us know that will also help probably another student get back on track. Pause there for any questions. Okay, so tonight's class, before we dive into anything technical, we're going to install the Rectangle app, and I'm going to show you two features on the Mac. One is called Mission Control, and the other one is called Virtual Desktops, that are going to help you get by with just one monitor. We're going to talk about how we can swipe between different screens, make sure that we're managing multiple windows right, and go through Visual Studio Code again to make sure that you're all set up and you can see everything. However, window management workflow is a personal preference, right? So we can recommend a certain workflow, but what you may find is that virtual desktops are confusing, you lose windows in them, and you want to just keep everything on one screen. That's completely fine. We're just showing you what the options are tonight, and if you say, I don't want to use the Rectangle app, I prefer to use the full screen feature that's built right into the Mac, that is also completely fine. So whatever ends up working out for you, if you feel like you got in a good flow yesterday, you don't have to follow along with us as we go through those things. All we're doing is presenting the options for you. With that said, I can't work on a single monitor alone. That's just something that I have learned over time. And so we understand there are a lot of windows to juggle. And we can highly recommend getting an external monitor with part of your stipend. If you have an external monitor, chances are all you need is an adapter cable for USB-C to HDMI. And I've added recommendations for the cables for monitors and for a portable monitor. So a student asked a great question of, all right, if we go out and invest in this monitor, what happens when we're in person, right? When we're in person in class, I may get so used to my second monitor workflow that I'm going to miss the monitor in class. Well, hopefully you won't need it the second monitor as much in person, and the reasoning behind that is that my code is going to be up on the monitor, right? So that's one less thing that you need to have open on your computer and juggling. However, there are two options. You could either get a portable monitor that's around the same cost or a little bit more as a regular monitor, which would make it a little bit easier to travel with and bring to in-person classes. So that is an option. And another option is if you have an iPad or are considering buying an iPad with your stipend money, you can also use that as a portable monitor and a second monitor. So I tried to list out recommendations. The recommendations are actually in the week 2, day 2 outline, but I did link to them in this post-mortem. So I'm going to pause there. Any questions about external monitors or anything like that? Okay. 30-second feedback form was critical for putting this document together. Without you guys voicing feedback, I think there were 6 or 7 students that voiced feedback. I knew things didn't go well yesterday, but it would be hard to figure out where they didn't go well without you guys taking the time to fill out that feedback form, right? So I knew that there was going to be some feedback that needed work, but the great thing about the 30-second feedback form is that now we've got a place to have constructive feedback as a starting point, right? Of identifying, all right, here are all of the things the students have said have gone wrong. What do we need to change this, right? And so if there are individual concepts that you're struggling with during class, please include them in the 30-second feedback form, right? Because what that's going to do is give me the opportunity to say, wow, there are 3 students who did not get these concepts, these exact same concepts. Let's spend time during tomorrow's class to go back over them, to make sure that we're getting them, to make sure they're sinking in. But I may also get that feedback form and go, this student seems to be the only one not getting these concepts. Let me go pull a couple resources together and share that with them directly, or share them in tomorrow's class and make sure that they feel like they've got what they need to kind of go back over those concepts. So sometimes there are classes where it's like, we just missed the mark. We all need to spend some more time going through them. And there are other times where it's like, there's this one concept or this one part of class where, you know, I feel like I lost a student. Let me go make sure they have the resources they need to work on that. And that isn't only on you, that is also on one-on-one time, right? So if you feel like you're still not getting these concepts, being able to bring them into a one-on-one and being like, here's where I need to spend 30 minutes with you. Can you help me get this one particular concept? So feel free to mention it in the 30-second feedback form, or at the beginning of next class during stand-up, where we said, what did we do yesterday? Feel free to jump in there and be like, we covered this thing called CSS, but I've got no idea why we're using CSS or what that concept is or why we were doing it in the first place. And I'll spend some time there. And if you're still not getting it in that next night's 30-second feedback form, just throw a note in there of like, hey, I'm still not getting these concepts. Improvement point on my part is I need to be better at identifying, hey, I would like you to follow along with me, or hold up, just watch me. I'm just showing you how this works, right? So I dived into Bootstrap at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I think I lost all of you. And what I didn't do well at that point was say, you don't have to follow me along for this. There's no homework for this. I'm just exposing you to it for the first time, and then you'll have a chance to play with it coming up. And so that's something that I need to be better at identifying. But if at any point you're like, all right, we're creeping along, the pace is going great, and all of a sudden I feel like Max's speed got set to Roadrunner, interrupt and be like, hey, are we supposed to be following you on this? Because chances are I forgot to say, hey, I'm just showing you this for the first time. You'll get to play around with it later. Or I can take that and say, all right, let me take a step back. Let me slow down a little bit and give you guys a chance to catch up. Other feedback that we had was on homework due dates. We're going to start breaking down assignments into kind of 3 separate categories. If there is homework that you can kind of do in advance, it's still going to be due on the Sunday after that week's classes. But we're going to try and post that a little earlier and say, hey, this is homework that's still not due until not Sunday, but the following Sunday. But if you start with this homework, you can get a little head start on the concepts that we're going to be covering next week, right? So all the free code camp homework, for example, even though that's not due until Sunday, that may give you a leg up on the content that we're covering in class. So we're going to start labeling homework a little bit better of, hey, while the due date hasn't changed on this, if you've got some free time, here's some homework that will get you set up for success for next week's class. Second category of homework we're going to have is, hey, don't do this yet because we're going to cover it in class. And if you are all caught up and you are following along in class, all you're going to have to do is submit it. Or, hey, you can start it in class, or you can wait to do it until after class. But this is something we did in class. All you need to do is submit it. And then the last thing is going to be category, homework category, assignment category is going to be wait until class of like, hey, you're not going to know how to do this assignment until you get to the end of class. So we're probably going to lock out that assignment. You're not going to be able to see it until after class starts. But don't worry about this assignment quite yet because you're not going to be able to understand how to do it until after class is covered. Take a breath there. We only have one more topic to cover, but any questions on assignments or anything else that we've covered so far?
No.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Last thing is everything should be on the outline, but that doesn't mean that it is, right? So at the beginning of every class, you should be going into Canvas and going either to the schedule or going down to the modules and popping open the outline, right? All of the resources that I am using are on that outline, and if any of them aren't, feel free to speak up or shoot Caitlin a message or whoever the TA is for that week and say, like, hey, what site is Max on? I don't see it in the outline, right? And we will update that outline not only so you have it during class, but that when you go back to this weekend and you're trying to do the homework, that outline is up to date with all of the links that we have. Okay, I'm going to open up the floor. Feel free to either DM me or come off of mute. But is there anything during last night's class that didn't feel right that was not addressed in this postmortem?
I wasn't in yesterday's class, but I did review it, and I just have a question about something, but nothing crazy.
Shoot.
When I finally got to the style CSS page, when I was trying to type the code in, it kept doing the little red curly under it, and I just couldn't go any farther because I couldn't understand why that kept happening, and I kept deleting the file and remaking a new one, and it still would do the same thing.
Sure. So two things that could cause that. One is a missing file extension. So like if you had .cs instead of .css, or you had like some file name that was a little off. VS Code may not know what kind of file or what kind of syntax you're using, and that's what was causing the curly. The other potential is that you just missed some syntax in the file, right? So like you missed a curly brace at the beginning of or at the end of your selector. And so when you were entering properties, it was like, I don't know what properties you're trying to enter. Do you still have that problem right now? Like if you open up yesterday's code, do you still have the curlies?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and share your screen for me and let's take a look.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay, sorry.
Now we can. Okay, so your problem here is just that you need to hit enter between those two curlies. So you were right in having the H1. And then do your curlies. And then enter. And now you basically need to tell it what you would like to style. So you can do like color::red there.
So I just have a question. So even like you see how it's moving around?
Yeah, because it isn't a valid file quite yet until you have some complete CSS in there. So if you
Oh,
do color::red
I think.
and a semicolon, now you'll notice everything has gone away. So you were on the right track, but it was just trying to warn you, hey, your file still isn't complete here, right? There's more that you need to add to it. And so that's what the curlies were trying to warn you of this isn't complete. This doesn't have everything in it that it needs to have.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. Any other questions? We are going to do a review of HTML, CSS, all of that tonight. But we're any questions on the homework from last night? Anything on the grid? Kind of anything that you've got before we dive in?
Yeah.
So
I was trying to what was that? All right. Yeah. So I was trying for the VS Code yesterday, you had us like add in some of the things from the Bootstrap website, sorry.
Yep.
And so I added in a button, and then for the CSS, I was trying to change the color of the button to purple.
Mhm.
So I tried changing the background color as well as just the regular color, and it wasn't changing anything. So I
Sure.
was just kind of stuck there.
Go ahead and share your screen.
All right, one second.
And so the reason why we spend time doing this is that chances are whatever issues your one student is running into, it is entirely possible that another student is going to run into it as well, right? So super important to pay attention while other students are sharing their screen, because even if you're not having their exact problem now, you may be having a similar problem in the future. So first thing I notice is you're missing a closing head tag. I don't think that's your problem, but right here, there should be a closing head.
There we go.
Perfect. And then what I see here is that you've got your button element or button button element, HTML element, and that has the class on it of BTN.
Okay.
So if you go back to your CSS file, your mycustomstyles.css, you've got two options. You can either make this a period.btn, or you can remove the period.
Okay. Oh, 1 second. It's not letting me change it. There you go.
Okay, so go ahead and save that and then pop it open in your browser.
All right,
and you've
there
got
we
a purple
go.
button.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you.
No problem. And we're going to touch on CSS selectors and talk about why either one of those was an option in a second.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, any other questions from yesterday?
So my weird question is my row one and my row one, column one, they were just stacked underneath. I couldn't get them to side by side. This
Okay, so row 1 and row 2 should never be side by side, but were you struggling to get your column 1 and column 2 side by side?
yeah,
Okay.
the column. Sorry, not the row.
Go ahead and share your screen and let's take a quick look.
Share.
Okay.
This one.
Okay, so your problem is if we so first of all, I'm gonna see if I can do remote control really quick. If you can allow that and then hit open system preferences and the lock in the bottom left and your Mac password. And then just check off Zoom for me and you're good to go. I can take it from there. Okay, so first things first is your indentation is a little bit off. You see how this div isn't at the right space level of this div? That indentation isn't important to the computer. It's super important to your eye to understand where divs are starting and stopping. So I'm just going to move that over one space, and now all of a sudden we can see, hey, this column has an opening tag, and it's got the content that should be in the column, but where does the column end? So what we're going to do is we're going to add a div tag here, and because we've started a new div, this should really go down on its own level. So now what we've unlocked is, hey, we've got our row, we've got our column, and this div is closing out this div, which is our row. Which means we've got a column hanging out here that isn't actually in our row.
Okay.
So I'm going to just take this entire column and move it right up to here and put in a new line there. And then I'm going to check my indentation. My closing column div is a little bit off. So I'm going to move that over and indent that. And now all of a sudden, it's much easier to tell that this closing div is for this div row because they are lining up. And same thing going on here and here. This one's actually off just one space, but now we can see, hey, this column and this column are right next to each other, and both of those columns are in the row. So if we save that and pop back open your server, we've got another problem where they're still not side by side. So let's go back.
Been doing that all night last night.
So the other problem is that you've got a link in here to some Wix website, but you didn't include the link to Bootstrap. So by default, your computer doesn't know what a row and a column is because those are things coming from Bootstrap. So if we go to getbootstrap.com and click you've got some weird internet connection issue going on where if I go to getbootstrap.com, it's not loading Bootstrap. I think you actually may have malware or some virus on your computer.
That's cool.
Okay, well that's the page I wanted to get to. Let me just do a quick check. There's something redirecting your websites that shouldn't be redirecting websites. Let me just look in what's starting up with your computer. Give me 1 second. Nothing. Okay.
No, I haven't downloaded anything on there.
Well, there's something weird going on, right? Because when I go to getbootstrap.com, it shouldn't be taking me to some ad with a reCAPTCHA and click confirmation. And so there must be something going on maybe with your Chrome profile that's causing things to redirect.
You're missing the T.
Oh, am I? Was it just me?
Yeah, I wonder if like he typed it wrong one time and then it like yeah, that's all.
Thank you for the save, Caitlin.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Is the first time you went to get Bootstrap, you missed the T here, and that's what's taking you to the weird websites and redirects and all of that. Okay, so I'm back here. This is their homepage, so all you have to do is hit Get Started, and then copy this link right here. So if we copy that and go back to your code and put that in right here.
You know, I even did that last night, but it wouldn't have worked anyways because the lining was off.
Yep. So if we save that and come back over to, too far, to your site, now you've got your row 1 and your row 2. Or your column 1 and column 2.
All right, I'm done. I'm good now.
Awesome.
Woo!
Anyone else for problems from yesterday that they'd like to work through? short of your therapist. I cannot help you there.
I have a question.
Yep.
For today, we're not doing very much coding, but what do you think I'll be able to like continue where you guys are if I don't have the folders from yesterday, like all of the Bootstrap folders and things like that?
So we're going to start from scratch today, so you should be able to follow along. We're going to do a quick HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap review, and then we're going to start from scratch on a weather project. So we're going to go as slow as you guys need to go through that of like, all right, why did you type that? Like, I don't, anytime that you don't understand why I did something, not even what I did, but why I did it, those are the important questions to interrupt me with and ask. But we should start from the weather project after our review and after I do some quick Mac file window management kind of things.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Yeah, if you are completely lost and you've got nothing done this entire week so far, you're still going to be able to follow along today. There's nothing that we're doing that's dependent on code from previous days. Which will not always be the case, by the way, and we'll have starter code for you. So if you were behind the previous day, we'll have like a jumping off point for you so that you can just start at the same point that I'm starting at. But because we're starting from scratch today, that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, last chance for any questions. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys the Rectangle app. The Rectangle app is a free app. I don't have it linked on the week 2, day 3 outline. Caitlin, could you drop a link in to the resources there for the Rectangle app for me?
Yes.
So all I'm going to do is search for Rectangle Mac, and it's going to be rectangleapp.com. But again, if you just search for Rectangle and Mac, it's going to let you download this. If you already have this downloaded, you do not need to download it again or reinstall it. I'm just showing you guys how to install it and what it kind of unlocks. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to hit the download button. And it's going to open up this DMG down in the bottom. DMG is a disk image, and it's going to pop this open. So all I need to do is drag and drop that into the applications folder. And then a common mistake when you're installing an application on the Mac is to double click on it from here. We don't want to run it from the DMG. We want to run it from the applications folder. So if we double click on applications, that's going to open up all the applications I have installed. And I'm going to find Rectangle and just double click on it. I'm just going to say, hey, you downloaded this from the internet. Are you sure you want to open it? I'm going to say open. And then it's going to say, hey, you need to authorize Rectangle, right? This is the same thing that you've gone through for Zoom of screen sharing and all of that. So I'm going to open System Preferences. It's going to take me to the right spot. I need to hit the unlock button and enter my password. And then scroll down for me, because I have a lot of programs installed, and do Rectangle. And I'm all set here. So I'm going to say I want the recommended shortcuts. And it's going to give me all of these keyboard shortcuts, right? So if I am in Chrome and this arrow, I don't know that I'm going to be able to blow that up for you guys. No, I can't. If you see like a little caret arrow pointing up, that's the control key. And if you see, well, if you look down on your keyboard, you see Control, Option, and Command and the little symbols on them. That's what's going to line up with these. So basically, if I want this window on the left half of my screen, I can hit Control, Option, and Left, and it's going to make that take up the left half of my screen. And if I do that again, Control, Option, and Right, it's going to snap to the right part of my screen. And if I do Control, Option, and Up, it's going to snap to the top half, right? So what this allows you to do is not only use those keyboard shortcuts, but the easier thing is you can take these windows and just drag it to the side. And as soon as you see it go into that half, that grayed out area, when you let go of the mouse, it's going to snap that window in for you. So this is really helpful for, hey, if I want my Chrome window open here and another Chrome window open over here, I can just drag it over. And if you're used to Windows, it's going to do the same thing Windows is going to do, right? And I can take this and drag it all the way up to the top of my screen, and that will normally make it go full screen as well. The other way you can do that is Control, Option, and Enter, and that will automatically make the entire window full screen. So Control, Option, Left, Control, Option, Right, and Control, Option, Enter are going to be your friends if you're a keyboard shortcut person. If you're not, you can just grab the windows and drag it over to the side, and it's going to make it snap to the left or the right. Taking a moment there, does anyone have questions about getting Rectangle installed, or are you stuck anywhere?
I have a question. How can I use my iPad as a side window? Sorry, it's a separate monitor.
Great question. So you're going to go System Preferences, Displays. If you don't have System Preferences in your dock, you can go to Apple up in the top left and drop down to System Preferences.
Mm-hmm.
Have you signed into your Apple ID on both your iPad and your Mac?
I just did that while you was explaining the...
Beautiful. So if you go to Displays, over here on the left, it says Add Display, and you should have an option for your iPad.
Oh, that. Yep.
And then from there, if your iPad is on the left or right part of your desk, you can grab whatever your iPad monitor is and drag it around so that it matches the actual layout. And then when you move your mouse over to the left, it will be over on the iPad.
Thank you so much. That definitely worked.
Awesome. Okay, so that is Rectangle. Rectangle, free app, super helpful app. If you are used to Windows snapping and you use that on Windows all the time, encourage you to download Rectangle and use it. Second feature I want to explore with you guys is something called Mission Control. And you may notice on Windows, you're used to just clicking on things in your taskbar and those windows appear, right? But that's a little bit harder on the Mac. So what you can do is you can actually click and hold on any app icon, and that's going to show you what windows are open. So if I pull this out into another window, and then I've got another one open for Google, and then like another one open for YouTube, if I click and hold on any icon in the dock, it's going to show me all the windows that I have open in that application. So I can just click on Google, and that's going to bring that one to the forefront. The other thing that I can do is go into something called Mission Control, which is actually going to be the F3 button on your keyboard. And if I hit F3, you see how it kind of fans out all of my windows so I can see them all. And then if I want to bring one of them back up to the top, I can just click on one. I hope it's the F3 button on your keyboard. Can someone confirm that for me? Yes? Okay, thank you. I'm on a slightly different laptop than you guys, so I was hoping the keyboards match. However, remembering to hit F3 is kind of out of the way if you don't have your hand on the keyboard. So the quicker way of doing Mission Control is if you take 3 fingers and just swipe up on your trackpad without clicking, it's going to also put you into Mission Control. And so you can see all the windows that you have open, and then whatever one you want to be at the forefront, you just click on and it will bring it there. So that is Mission Control for showing all of your windows. But there is a pro feature of Mission Control, and you can have multiple virtual desktops. And that's something that Windows also supports as well. So let's say that I've got my Outline and my Google Drive here, but I want to keep all my other Chrome windows in another space. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F3 or swipe up with 3 fingers. And you notice if I put my mouse up at the top here, this kind of shaded out area has a little plus hanging out over here. So I'm going to hit that, and it's going to add a second desktop for me. So if I click on that, now it looks like all of my windows are gone. They aren't actually closed out. They're in my other desktop. So I can swipe up with 3 fingers, put my mouse back up here, and switch back to desktop 1. Or I can use 3 fingers and swipe over to the left and get access to my other desktop. So, again, this is a pro feature, just letting you know that it is an option. You don't have to use it. But what it allows you to do is if I swipe up with 3 fingers and say, hey, I want my outline on desktop 2, and I would like my teaching schedule on desktop 2, now I can snap those over here, have my 2 windows perfectly side by side, and swipe back with 3 fingers and be in another desktop space with another set of windows. So, if you wanted to, you could set up your VS Code and your browser in one desktop, and then swipe over and have my VS Code and my browser in another, and that way you can kind of have a setup there where you're keeping 2 separate spaces, but having 2 different groups of windows. Okay, I'm going to take a moment and actually show a new feature that we have added to our polls. Everyone try out making another desktop and getting Windows over on that desktop using Mission Control. And I'm going to launch a poll to see if everyone has been able to make another desktop and move some windows to it and swipe back and forth between the 2 of them. So we added another option to the poll for not only sure did or no but keep going, but I'm lost, right? If you're like, what, I have no idea what he's talking about. I lost him 5 minutes ago. I'm completely zoned out now. That is now an option on the poll. I can't see who has voted for I'm lost until I close the poll, but there is a good chance that I'm going to call you out on it afterwards once I end the poll and say, okay, where are you lost? Who needs help? But before I close the poll, I'm going to do that now. Is anyone stuck or want to share their screen or need me to show something? Christy, go. I can ask you to unmute.
I got both these screens and I'm discombobulated. So let me go back to Zoom. I hit F3 and now I can't. It's not, wait a minute. Show in, no windows available. I don't know what I did.
Okay, so swipe over with 3 fingers. Come out of Mission Control, so just click on it so you can see your desktop again. And then swipe over with 3 fingers and see if all your windows come back.
Okay, I got the windows.
Okay.
Now,
so,
but see, the problem is like everything is on my monitor and my dock is not on my computer.
So that's a good point of your dock is going to be on whatever monitor you set as your primary monitor. And there's no way to get it. Oh, no. If you put your... Oh, you know what you should do? I know why that's not a problem for me. Let me share my screen really quick. I've got my dock set up. So if you notice, my dock isn't down at the bottom of my screen. And I have that set up because my dock only shows when I put my mouse down at the bottom of it. And so if you turn that on and have multiple monitors, because your dock isn't showing in multiple places, you'll be able to access the dock from any of the monitors if you put your mouse at the bottom of the screen. And so the way I turn that on is if you go to System Preferences and Dock in menu bar, which is in the kind of the first row, third one in, there is an option here that says automatically hide and show the dock. 4th checkbox down. If you turn that on, your dock
is it dock menu bar?
Yes.
Dock and menu bar? Okay.
Dock and menu bar, and then kind of like 2/3 of the way down. Yep, you got it.
Automatically hide and show the dock. Okay.
And so now if you put your mouse at the bottom of any of your monitors, your dock should pop up.
It's not doing it on the... Oh, wait. It is. Okay, it is.
I think it's a little weird, Max. Like mine only does it on the last place that I used my dock.
Yeah, so, multiple monitor dock support is a little weird. If you have it on automatically show and hide, I think it's a little less weird.
Yeah.
But
okay, so why is everything on the monitor and not on the laptop? Is it because all I did was switch to positions so that I wouldn't have to do the mouse backwards? Should I change it back?
no, that's fine to leave it that way. All you need to do is grab the window and drag it back over to the laptop screen.
This window or all the windows?
Whatever window you want to move over, when you're not in mission control, you should be able to just grab the window and drag it back to the other screen.
Okay. I think I understand.
Okay. If you need help, just come back off of mute and let us know.
I'm muted.
Not yet. Now you are.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
So I wanted to hook up to my iPad, but I wasn't sure. So when I was trying to get my mouse to go to like the iPad, it just wouldn't. So then it like kind of like took my whole screen off my my Mac and put it on there, but I didn't want that. So is there a way that I could have like, for instance, one desktop and then my second desktop on one screen and then back and forth?
So if you go into system preferences and displays.
Okay, 1 second. I have you in full screen. And then okay.
If you do you see something that says mirror displays somewhere?
If I go to add display and then iPad and then 1 second. Yeah, I see that now. It says actually I don't see it yet. Hold on.
So if you add display, I think by default it should give you like a second monitor that you can drag windows to and from.
So now I have both my like both. Oh, okay, it's working. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I did say I was lost. I have no shame right now. Yeah, so far I'm about to just share my screen, honestly.
Sure.
All right, here we go. I should have been paying attention, low key, but I zoned out.
Okay, so
this so far.
You are in full screen mode right now of VS Code, right? So if you do a 3-finger swipe up or hit the F3 button on your keyboard, it's going to show you, hey, VS Code is in one desktop full screen, Safari is in the other desktop full screen, and then you've got your first desktop there. So what that means is if you click on one of those windows, you can take 3 fingers on your trackpad and put them on the left side of the trackpad and move them over to the right side of the trackpad, other direction. And that's going to take you over. And then if you do that other direction,
all right,
that's going to take you to your code. And if you do that again, that's going to take you back to your desktop. So you're basically, you have like a slideshow going on right now, right? And you're just sliding between your desktops. So whenever you go full screen, that's going to make another desktop for you that you can slide back and forth between. If you want to manage any of those desktops, you can swipe up with 3 fingers, and then you could either come out of full screen for any of those or use the plus and add another one.
Okay.
And you can also reorder them, by the way, by just dragging and dropping them. So like if you wanted Safari to, come between Chrome and yeah, you got it.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to end the poll. Question out of curiosity. Corey, can you change your vote, or once you vote, is it locked in?
I think it's locked in. I don't have like that poll display that you mentioned. Let me just double check to make sure.
Actually, poll I saw was actually if we got the code working or not. It wasn't actually if we had the windows open.
Yeah, I just reused this one in particular. I should edit the question to say, like, were you able to get this exercise working or whatever? But, yeah, when I said code, I just meant, like, playing around with your windows and using virtual desktops and all of that. So I just ended the poll.
Yeah, I can't change the poll at all. No.
Okay.
I don't know if I clicked submit on the poll. I wasn't ready yet, but it's gone.
Okay. Let me just interesting. Okay.
And I do have another question too.
Go for it.
I got it to mirror on both screens, but
Okay.
I still haven't, like, it's exactly the same.
So
but,
you shouldn't have mirror on. That's the thing that you should uncheck.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And if you uncheck that, you should be able to drag things back and forth.
Let's see.
So, okay, and then go to your Nicole's MacBook Pro over on the left. And extended, yeah, so that should be right. So if you hit done there,
okay,
you should, is your iPad to the right of your laptop screen or to the left?
To the left.
Okay, so grab this window and drag it over to here.
Oh, wow.
And now when you move your mouse off to the side of your screen, it should appear on the iPad.
Yeah, it's working now.
Awesome.
Thank you. Wait, stop sharing.
Okay, any other questions on window management?
Is extended display the best thing?
Yes, that's what you want.
Okay.
And I have a question on Rectangle real quick.
Yes.
I downloaded it and everything. I had it downloaded. But when I do like the control option left or right, I see like the screen. So is it just allowing me to like size the desktops in that?
Yes, rectangle is just for sizing whatever window you currently have active to the left half, right half, or full screen.
Oh, I see.
So it's not just the rectangle app window that you could move, right? If you were in VS Code and hit Control Option left, that's going to make that VS Code window snap to the left half of the screen.
I get it. Okay, thanks.
No problem. Okay, give me a thumbs up, or I don't know that you can give a thumbs down in reactions. Give me open mouth. Give me a thumbs up if you found this helpful, and an open mouth if you didn't.
Thumbs up.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Okay. Now what was I going to do next? I need to go to my outline. I think I covered everything in the post-mortem, but let me just double check that quickly, and then I will pull up my outline, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, last chance for any second monitor questions or class workflow questions or anything in the post-mortem. Go ahead, Nicole.
Rectangle, when it says recommended or speculate, do you want me to put which one?
Recommended is fine.
Okay, thank you.
That's just, they have like a different set of keyboard shortcuts that you can use, and I think Spectacle is the name of another app that use different keyboard shortcuts, so that's all they're asking there is like, do you want to use our keyboard shortcuts or do you want to use keyboard shortcuts that are built into this other app? Christy, did you have a question? No? Okay. Any other questions before we move on to our HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap review? And a little bit of VS Code.
Off topic,
yeah.
My CS code is frozen. I tried to force quit it, it didn't do it.
Share your screen.
I gotta take you over here. Yeah, it's doing that.
Okay, so if you
it's quit down here.
Yeah, but it's open still. It's not open in your dock. Hit Option Command Escape, which pulls up Force Quit. That's the equivalent of Control Alt Delete on the Mac.
Right. It's not doing that. You said Option Command Delete?
No, Option Command Escape. Your VS Code just is not there. Very interesting. Okay.
I'm going to restart this whole computer overall.
I was gonna say the thing you can try is try just opening VS Code and see if that works for you.
Okay.
So just hit Command Space and type in VS space C.
Yes.
Space C. Okay. I'm wondering do you not have VS Code in your applications folder? I bet you that's the problem.
I think
Yeah.
Western she told me to put it.
You should never have any application on your desktop. It should always be in the applications folder. So you can put shortcuts on your desktop, but I noticed that you've got Chrome and a couple other applications running from your desktop. That's going to cause all kinds of weird crap to happen, just like this, where you can't really like close out of something. So what I'm going to recommend is go to Finder in the bottom left, and then go to Applications over on the left side there. And I'm going to recommend that you move Chrome and Slack into that folder.
Applications. You said Chrome.
Oh, you already have Chrome from there. So just delete Chrome from your desktop. And then, because it's open. So go to Chrome in your dock and quit it. And one thing to note, there's a difference on the Mac between closing a window and quitting the application. So if you notice in the top left, it still says Chrome. That's because you open the window and close the window, but you didn't quit the overall app. And the reason we know that is because there's a little dot down there in the dock that's showing that the application is still running. And that's super important for any other student to notice, is that just because you have all of the application's windows closed does not mean that you have quit the application. So to quit, you can either do what you just did, Markel, right-click on it and hit quit, or you can just hit Command-Q, and that will force it to actually close out. So now I would recommend deleting it from your desktop.
You want to put it in the trash, right?
Yeah, that's fine. And then for Slack, check to see if you have Slack in your applications folder. You do not. So go ahead and just drag Slack from here right into there. Okay. And then other thing to check for is see if you have VS Code in there. It's going to be towards the bottom. Everything should be alphabetical. You do.
Nope.
So go ahead and, yep, it's right here. Go ahead and double click on that. And that should open the version of VS Code that you should be using. And if anyone is sick of going to their applications folder instead of going to their dock, what you can do is just drag an icon here over into this section, and that will make it stay in the dock. And Markel, you are going to have to reboot because VS Code is being weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think launching things from your applications folder or this icon down here for Launchpad, either one of those is a safe place to launch applications from.
Okay.
Good luck. We'll see you after your reboot.
All right, bet.
Okay, any other questions?
Just a quick question after I seen all his stuff. So like I have a ton of stuff, like all my pictures, all my everything is on my desktop. So like if I just throw them away, will they be deleted out of the folder that they're in too?
Yes.
I tried to drag them and put them in the same folder that they were in, and they wouldn't go in there. So do they just naturally stay there?
No, if you move files into a folder, they should either move or copy into the folder.
Okay. And then for instance, I have like a regular hard drive disk thing. And it's under my network, and then it's untitled, and then connected to it is all like my applications, my library systems and users. Should I try to put that away too? And it just won't.
So hard drives always will stay on the desktop because they're like an attached device. But files you should be able to move off of your desktop into another location.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so we're gonna do our last practice. Oh, I missed someone. Slacked me. Okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna practice opening my code and your code in VS Code. So I'm going to, this is exactly what we did yesterday, except now we've got a little bit more window management under our belt. So I'm gonna open VS Code, and I'm going to go to File, Open Folder. You can follow along with me here. You're going to get your code open first, and then you're going to get my code open. So I'm going to go to my desktop, my code folder, my W2 folder. I'm going to create a new folder for day 3, and I'm going to hit open. Now this is my code, right? So, or your code. You should be following along, creating the day 3 folder, getting that open. So I'm going to create a new file here. I'm going to call index.html. And I'm going to type in my name. You should type in your name. So I'm going to type in Max Matthews. I'm going to hit the Go Live button. And I see Max Matthews pop open in my browser. So I'm going to take these and just move these out of the way. And close out of this. Okay, so now I've got, if I take my window and drag it to the right, because I've got rectangle on, it will snap it over to the right. Or I can hit Control Option left and get it on the left side, Control Option right and get it on the right side. Same with my code. I'm going to take that, I'm going to snap that over to the left side, and I actually like a little overlap, so I'm going to adjust it out from there. Now it's mad at me because I didn't use a body or a head tag, so I'm actually going to delete that out. I'm going to say exclamation mark, enter, and that's going to dump in all of my HTML for me. Let me show that again. I'm going to, from my blank index.html file, which I created with the new file icon over here, I'm going to hit exclamation mark, enter, and that's going to put in all of my HTML. So I'm going to add my name back here. I'm going to go back here and click on Live Server down in the bottom. And there's my Max Matthews. So I'm going to stop and wait for questions. You should have a HTML file created in your day 3 folder called index.html with the HTML templating getting started. We're going to go over all of that in 1 second. And then you should have a live server running on 5500 that's showing your name in the browser, and hopefully it's in Chrome. Pausing for questions and relaunching the poll. You have not pulled up my code yet, and that's completely okay. We're going to do that in the next step.
When I click port 5500, it makes me go back offline. And then when I click it again, I go back online. Is that supposed to happen?
Yeah, you should click on it, and once you're online, you should be fine to leave it online.
I mean, but how do I pull it back up in my web browser? Or do I just leave it open and just refresh it as I need it?
Yeah, you leave it open, and because it's the live server, you shouldn't have to refresh it. It will automatically refresh when you save your file.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
But if you do close it from your browser and for whatever reason don't want to stop the server and restart the server, the URL that you can go to is either 127.0.0.1:5500. So like if I copy this and close the tab and then reopen the tab and paste it back in, it will come right back up. So like this is the URL of your live server. Mine just happens to be on 5600 instead of 5500, so I don't conflict with you guys.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you.
Good question. Okay, whoever voted I'm lost in the poll, I'm going to need a little help from you. Either DM... Is that you, Nicole?
Yeah, it was me.
Okay. Where are you stuck?
Okay, so when I just made my folder, D3 folder, it already has the index HTML. That's fine. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I was trying to catch up, but that wasn't.
Yep.
So, all right, that was everything.
And in the bottom right of your screen, do you see something that says live server?
Live share?
No, live server.
Yeah, go live on it.
Okay, great. We did that, I think, yesterday, so I'm glad that you got caught up on that. So if you click go live, you should be able to see your file in the browser.
Okay. Yeah, it came into browser.
Okay, awesome.
I just need to create in that I made the D3 folder already, but I'm where I need to type my name at. Like I created a new, I don't know why I don't know that step, but I don't know. I'm just like out of it right now. But am I doing a new file?
New file called index.html.
Can you still hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Now that I got the both screens, I'm like scattering for all the things in the so now that I have the hold on a second. I'm trying to scooch back around. Did you put the did you put the link in for the live share?
No, not yet. We're not at that step yet.
Sorry.
If you can see your name in the browser that you typed in your code, you're caught up and good to go.
Okay, hold on a second. Or you can go on. I'm gonna just keep looking around.
Cool. Yep, Christy, go ahead.
So I'm gonna share my screen real quick because I did the wait a minute. Where's my mouse? Oh, here it is. Share. Okay, so you see right here.
Okay, so 2 ways that you can create a new file. What you did is you went up to File and New File, and that created this like file in the ether that hasn't been saved yet. So what you can do is you can hit Command S or File Save As and tell it where you want to save that file to. Click in the, yep, there you go. Now try your Command S. And now you're going to call that index.html and hit save.
I remember this now, but you know, I'm so discombobulated with these displays that I'm lost. Okay. Well, not lost, but
okay, so now you can type your exclamation point and enter, and that's going to fill out your HTML template for you. And then down in the body, you're just going to type your name.
Anywhere?
In the body, on line 10.
Oh.
And then click on Go Live in the bottom right part of the window.
Save your file.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are in my screen, so you're blocking all your faces are on my screen.
Okay, and on one of your other monitors, you probably have a browser window that just opened that's got your name in it.
Yes. Okay. I got it. Thank you. Can you unmute me? Because I don't know where I can't see.
Yeah, I can mute you. Okay. Other questions?
I have a question.
Danielle, go ahead.
Okay, so I got as far as getting everything together, but the only thing I'm having is like when you're referring to this go live button, I'm not seeing it. Instead, I'm going to my desktop, literally clicking on the folder and opening it that way. And so I just want to know, how do I go about
getting that button? Yep, great question. So I'm going to share my screen. And over here on the left side, there's the like 4 squares with one out of the way.
Okay.
So if you click on that, And then up here in the top, just do a search for live server.
Okay, I'm missing the live server. I think yesterday I downloaded it, but I don't know where it went.
Okay. Yeah, so when you're in the in VS Code, in the extensions, if you do a search for live server, there should be, instead of this gear right here, there should be something that says install.
Okay, give me one moment. Let me take a look and see. Okay, it says installed under live server.
Okay. And when you go back to your file and you've got index.html open, are you saying you don't have something down here that says go live?
Let me look back at your screen. Hold on.
It should say go live, kind of the very, here, let me write down here.
Oh, okay. Let me take a look and see. I was just like looking down in the corner, and most likely I do have it. I just didn't see it.
Any other questions? You good, Danielle?
Yeah.
No, I don't see that. I have only like live share, but nothing else. Like the bar down there is blue. Can I just share my screen?
You can now.
Okay.
You might need to do that right click and check it.
That's for live share though, not for live server.
But in the bar, I feel like you can do the same.
Oh, good point. Okay, go ahead and share your screen, Danielle.
Yeah.
And if you go to your files, first of all, I just want to make sure. So your first problem is that your index has a capital I, and almost always we want to be using lowercase file names. So if you go back to, we've got two problems.
Oh.
Okay, so first of all, click on this right here. You've got the wrong live server installed. So go ahead and hit uninstall there.
All right.
And then come back up here and do another search for live server. And this is the one that you want to install.
Okay. Well, now that makes sense why I didn't have that at the bottom.
Yep. And so now if you go back to your index.html,
okay,
and then click the go live button that you now have, you're good to go.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Other questions? Oh no. Okay, sorry, my Zoom froze for a moment. Any other questions? Going once. Going twice. Sold to no questions. Moving on to HTML summary. Okay, so let's do a basic rundown. If you are following along with me, by the way, I am out of the postmortem doc. We have gone over multiple desktops and rectangles, rectangle app. Hopefully that was all helpful. We are diving into the next thing on our agenda, which is the HTML review. I'm going to go through that and stop at 7 o'clock no matter where we're at and take our 20-minute break. So let's talk about our HTML. It would help if I were sharing my screen. Okay, so this is our basic HTML doc. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to zhuzh it up a little bit, and then I'll talk through what all of this code is doing, right? So I'm going to do an H1 tag here, and I'm going to type in my name again, and then I'm going to do a little P tag here and say this is a paragraph about me. And I'm going to come in here and add another tag. It's okay if you don't understand what these are. I'm just getting a document set up that we can explain things through. Okay, so in HTML, the first thing that you see a lot of are what we call tags. A tag is anything with an opening arrow and a closing arrow. Now, there are two kinds of tags. There is a self-closing tag and a regular closing tag. Right? So this H1 is an example of a regular closing tag. There is an opening tag here and a closing tag here. We know that it is a closing tag because it has the slash in front of it. So this opening tag and this closing tag are a pair. That means that those tags have some content in them. The content is right here. So the content is anything that comes between the tags. Now, every tag needs to have its own closing tag unless it is self-closing. And a self-closing tag looks like this. So a self-closing tag is an opening tag that has a slash built right into it. Any questions on that? Now, we can nest our tags. So, in this example, this P tag doesn't close until down here. But in the content of this tag, I have added another tag that is called a span tag. A span tag is any text that we want to style in another tag that's somewhere else. Now, we will be covering HTML tags as we go. We've already seen P tags and HR tags and H1 tags and a whole long list, right? And I'm pretty sure I put that in the week 2, day 1 outline. So if you've got any questions about what HTML tags are commonly used, you can go back and reference that document there. So we talked about a little bit about our tags and what's available to us. Let's talk about the structure of an HTML document, which I forgot to put on the list. So an HTML document is always going to have an HTML starting tag and an HTML closing tag. In that HTML, we are going to have a head tag and a closing head tag, and anything that the browser needs, general information that isn't going to show up in the end user's website, is going to go into the head tag. So things that our template has dropped in for us when we do our exclamation point enter is things like UTF-8. That is telling the browser, hey, you can use emojis on this page. Things like Internet Explorer equals Edge. That's telling Internet Explorer, hey, you're a dinosaur, try and render this modern website. We've got things like viewport initial scale 1.0 width equals device width. That's telling mobile devices, hey, this is a responsive website. Zoom in at 1.0, get started with our page that way. And then probably the most important thing in our head tag is our title tag. And our title tag is not self-closing, and it has the content of whatever's going to show up in our browser. So if I move this over and I type in Max's awesome website and save, you'll see over here my tab now says Max's awesome website. So the head of the HTML document is telling the browser, hey, here's some information about the site. You don't need to tell it to the end user, but here's some information you may need to render out. The body tag is the exact opposite. Anything in the body is going to show up for our end user. And so we've got more tags down here that we're using. H1, our header tag. HR for header row. That's what's adding in this line separating out my site for me. We've got our P tag, right? Our paragraph tag. And then we've got a span tag nested inside of our P tag. And whenever we open a new tag, if there is content going on to the next row, we're going to indent that, right? So we can easily see when we're looking at our code here that this line of content is showing up inside of our P tag. So if we really wanted to, we could even go another level deep there and have our span tags be nested at that indentation level so we know where that is going to be. Span tags tend to be the exception because they are used kind of in line. We tend to not put them on another line, but whenever we've got indentation going on, we should be indenting in. So a div is kind of like a container box, right? That's what we can target and hold all of our content in. And in my div, I may have a paragraph and say paragraph 1. And you notice VS Code is helping me out. I didn't have to hit tab here. As soon as I hit enter, it took me over there. And I can do another paragraph and say paragraph paragraph 1 and paragraph 2. And if I wanted to, I could even do another div inside of here and go H4, this is div madness. If I save that, come over here, you can see the indentation doesn't matter to the browser, but looking at my code, if I say, hey, what is my H4 in, I can go straight up that indentation line and tell you that my H4 is in a div, which is in another div, which is in the body, right? And so that indentation is just helping us carry all of that through. Now we're almost done with all of HTML, believe it or not. The only other thing that we need to touch on is sometimes HTML elements or tags have attributes in them, and those attributes have values. The most common use of this is for HTML classes and IDs. So attributes always go on the opening part of the tag. They never go on the closing part of the tag. So whenever you have a div or any tag open, you should immediately get that closing tag in there so you don't forget about it, right? And so what you guys have run into is if you forget a div somewhere, oh, that's not a good example. If we forget a symbol somewhere, this is turned red, right? And so you go, well, why is this red? There's nothing wrong with this. There isn't anything wrong with it. What is wrong is you forgot your closing tag up here. So if I do my arrow there, that puts it back. Or I may have something where I forget that slash. That is now invalid HTML because it thinks you're trying to open a paragraph inside of this paragraph. So you want to watch out for your syntax, right? So we're going to put a slash there. And VS Code is going to do something dumb and we're going to tell it, no, that's what we actually want. Okay? Last thing we need to do is talk about attributes. So I'm going to add a attribute here on my P.
I'm sorry, before we go to attributes, can you show your page again? Okay, so div is basically like a divider. Is it just like a space?
So this is the HR tag, and then a div, a div has no styling on it by default. It's just something that you can use down the road to add styling if you want to.
Okay.
Right, so a div is like an imaginary box holding all of the content, and then we would be able to use CSS classes and selectors and IDs to style that div if we wanted to.
I get it. So basically, like if I'm doing like a wireframe and whatever I have in like a box would be considered like the div, I guess.
So we're going to use div class row and div class column in 1 second to show all of that.
Okay, thanks. Sorry about that.
No problem. Good question. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to add a selector on here, right? So the first thing, actually, before we do the selector, one of the properties we can add, or attributes we can add to any HTML tag is a style. And that style lets us use inline CSS. So basically CSS that isn't part of another section of the website, we can use that style attribute to use CSS to style that one particular H1. So here I can write some CSS, and I am using a CSS property called color and a CSS value called red. And so if I save that in my index and come back over here, I now have a red H1. So I know we're getting close to break. Before we dive into CSS and selectors and all of that fun stuff, I want to make sure everyone can get my code up. So what we're going to do, don't follow me, pretend like I'm not sharing my screen, don't follow me, don't follow me. Okay, so what everyone is going to do is if you would like to keep my code in another window so you can swipe back and forth another desktop, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say File, New Window, because I don't want to modify my code that I've been following along with, right? I want to be in a separate window to see the code that I'm sharing. I'm going to swipe up and take this Get Started and drag it into my second desktop. If you don't have a second desktop here, I'm going to close this one out just so you can see how you create one. If I only have I'm swiping up with 3 fingers or hitting the F3 button. If I only have one desktop, I'm going to put my mouse up here, go over to the plus button. That now has created another virtual monitor for me. So I can take this and drag it into desktop 2. And now if I click on desktop 2, I've got my new window there. Again, this is optional. If you want to keep everything in one desktop, that's completely fine. But now, if I want to get back to the personal version of my code that I'm working on, I can take 3 fingers and swipe over and get back to it. So I'm going to use 3 fingers. I'm going to swipe over to the new window that I created. And everyone should be following along with me here. I'm going to use rectangle, drag it to the left side of the screen. That's going to snap it in. I'm going to click the live share button. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to hit join. Now, it may ask you in the bottom right, do you want to stay anonymous or sign in? If you hit anonymous, it's going to pop this window up, but it's going to say ask for your name instead. So type in your name if it's not already there, hit enter, and then it should ask for a URL. And the URL that we are pasting in, I just put into the CIC live stream channel. So make sure you don't get the one from yesterday. I'm actually going to go up and delete that so you don't accidentally get it. But it should be the one that I sent at 6:58. So you're going to go back into VS Code. You're going to paste in that link and hit enter. Make sure you are doing that in your new window, not in the window where you've been working on your own code. And hopefully in one moment, I see you guys start to pop in. Yes.
So just to be sure, so when you open up a new window, you go to new file?
No, you don't go to new file. You go to the live share icon over on the left side.
Got it.
And then the join button. And then it's going to ask you anonymous or sign in. Or it may ask you to just paste the link in. It depends if you've signed into GitHub or not. All right, I've got 5 of you in. That means I don't need to start a poll because I can see you joining in. Is anyone stuck anywhere? Christy, go ahead.
Sorry about that. You can mute me.
Yeah. So I was. Wait a minute. I'm telling you, these monitors are going to be the death of me.
You thought they were a good idea, and then you saw the double-edged sword.
Like, this sucks. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. So, all right. And then when I do this, I get these little bars, these little things that block the screen, so I can't see what I'm doing. So am I supposed to be...
So this is your code. So you don't want to be in your code right now. So what you want to do is click it back into VS Code. You can just click on the window and it will focus it.
This window?
Yeah, just click anywhere in VS Code. Okay, you're going to go to File, New Window, because you don't want... This is your version of your code. You don't want my code mixed in with your code. So you're going to go to File all the way up at the top of the screen. At the tippy top. Over.
I don't have that. It's because I'm in the on the other monitor. So what am I doing wrong?
Look where I drew my arrow. So right above it, it should be the word file. Oh, you lost focus. Hold on. Click back in VS Code. And then do you see the word file up there?
No, it's not showing.
Okay, it's not going to be here. It's going to be right here.
Right, but new file.
Nope.
Yeah, but I can't.
You don't want new file. You want new window.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let's see. New window. It's up so high on my monitor that I can't see it. Now I just happened to put my mouse there because you told me to, but I can't see it.
Okay, you're gonna go to live share there. You might need to adjust what is called the overscan on your monitor so that that isn't cut off, because you're definitely going to be able to need to be able to see those.
Okay, so
And then you are in some, you've already started a live share by accident, so hit this little monitor, the 3-dot button, session details, and scroll down there. In this area. Yep, 2 fingers to scroll up, and keep going, and hit join. And that's where you're gonna continue as anonymous. Hit enter because it knows your name already. And now paste in the URL.
Now I'm getting that. And that's not, wait, is that in Slack?
That's in Slack.
Okay, I'm in the wrong place for that too. Okay. All right. I'm good now. So you can, if you can unmute me, somebody else can ask the question. I know.
My next question is right after that. So I tried to paste the link into the Slack, but it is all red.
Okay, you probably copied the link wrong. If you right click on the link itself and hit copy link, that's going to be easier than trying to highlight it yourself. Give that a try. Let me know if you're stuck. We've got 9 people in. I'd love to get one more person in, and then I'll kick off break.
For some reason, while I'm trying to click, hold on. Well, I'm trying to click the live share, and I see the share and join, but when I'm clicking it, it's not doing anything.
So in the bottom right, there will be a little window that says sign in as anonymous or sign in.
I'm sharing my screen.
Yep, so go ahead and hit join. Okay, odd. Go ahead and close your VS Code and quit it entirely. So Command Q to fully quit it out.
Hold on, let me save my code, my other code.
Okay, and then you, yeah, okay, that works. Yep. And then go ahead and relaunch VS Code from your dock. And that's going to be your code, which we want to leave up. So go ahead and do a file new window.
Oh.
And then your live share, and then the join button, and hopefully that will get it unstuck. No, of course it isn't.
What the heck is going on?
I have no idea. Hit the close button on get started. Okay, 10 people have made it in. So Shanjay, stay on with me. Let's take a break, and we'll see everyone back at 7:25. And if you are still having problems, I will get to you next.
Wait, I have a question real quick. Do you have any exercise websites I can go to?
For what?
For like the same thing that we're doing here.
Not really.
Oh. Okay.
The biggest thing I can recommend is during the course prep work, there were like intro to Mac courses. And Caitlin, I don't know if you can pull them out of cohort 2, because I think there were a couple Jesse shared in the Google Classroom. If you want to dig around and see if you can find them, those are the only ones that I'll be able to recommend.
Let me let me take a look.
Let's try it over here in your other window, even though that's your code. I just want to see if it's going to work there. So go to live share and then hit the join button. No, it's going to do the same thing. And okay, go to extensions and click on live share here, and then uninstall. And then cannot uninstall live share audio. Okay, click here
Oh.
And uninstall that one first. Okay, and then click here. And uninstall that one. And then click back here. And click reload required. And then go... Wait a second. Okay, and then do a search up here for live share. And then install that one. And now click over here. And join. Oh, are you kidding me?
It's so weird. It was working yesterday.
So I've run into the same thing, and you might be stuck in some weird login. Is anyone else stuck? Just because it's going to take me a minute to work through. Shranjay, go ahead and take your break, and I'm going to circle back with you. It won't stop you from working in class tonight, but I don't want to just hold everyone up.
Okay.
I got a question. So I got the link to work in the browser. Like, I can see the stuff moving around the browser, but I still can't get it.
Okay, share your screen.
Okay.
Go to, so you're pasting in the complete wrong URL. So go to Slack and right click on that. That's not a right click. So you have to hold in Control and click, or there you go, and hit copy link. And now go back to your VS Code.
1 second.
And paste now. And hit enter. And you're in. Christy?
So, wait a minute. I'm still trying to get these screens. I don't even, wait a minute.
Anyone else stuck?
Yeah, I was gonna say, let's help someone else because I'm.
Oh, just you.
So. Okay. So I did what you said, and then when I was, oh, maybe I have, no. This is saying day 2. So I'm thinking, let me see if I can share my screen. Let me see, where's the mouse? Oh boy. Is that where I'm supposed to be?
So you're in, this is your code, not my code. So what you want to do is click in that window just to make that the primary one.
Wait a minute. This one?
Yep, and then go to File, Open Folder. It's off your screen again. It's gonna be right here.
File.
And get your day 3 folder and then hit open there. And that's where you should be. So if you open your index.html, that's where your code is for today.
I was there already. That's why I don't. Okay, so now I think I had the window open from yesterday and I didn't close it.
Okay, could be.
For you. So then now I want to go to live share.
Nope. Not yet. File, new window.
Okay.
A little to the there. Over one. There you go. Oh, and now you're in Finder, so you got to click back in your VS Code.
Oh my God, I got to fix that.
And then over to the left. One more. Cha-cha real slow. Okay, new window.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
Now you can
Live
go into
share.
live share, join,
Join.
continue as
Continue as
anonymous.
anonymous. And then I delete that out.
Delete that out and just type in your name. Enter. And then enter, because that's today's code.
That is, oh, okay, because I.
And you're in.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Every day brings something new, challenging. Right. So right now, above all of this is just the toolbar from Zoom. And then the pictures with everybody's faces is at the bottom of the screen. It's so weird.
So I'm going to send you a screenshot. I'm going to direct message it to you just so you can see what your screen is supposed to look like. And it's probably going to look like, you know, my screen when I screen share, where you can see the file up at the top. So your monitor is probably like not on the computer. Oh, maybe you can adjust it on the computer settings. Hold on, let me check. No, you cannot adjust it here. So like on the monitor settings itself, so like the buttons on the monitor, there should be something that says overscan somewhere. And that overscan is what you want to bring down, which is going to make the whole window on your computer fit. Because right now it's like hanging off the monitor or the TV.
Would it be, do you know if it would be in like...
It should be like display or video.
Okay, I'll play around with that.
It might be called Zoom, but it should be called Overscan.
So I see something that says screen adjustment.
Could be.
Oh, and then it has picture size.
Picture size might be it.
So should I do, it says screen fit. The option is screen fit.
Try changing it and see.
That's what it is. I got it. I got it. Oh gosh. Okay, thank you. Please.
Good work.
Thank you.
Anyone else stuck?
You can unmute me, please.
Okay, I'm going to take my break. Okay, so let me close out of these. So we've got our HTML going, right? And now we need to dive into our CSS again, right? All right, we need to get our CSS started. So there are multiple places that we can do that. We can just add a little style tag up here, and we'll start with it there, right? So our head has a new style tag in it because we're providing information for the browser to style things. We're not actually telling, hey, show the CSS up in the browser, in the body. We just want to tell the browser, hey, this is how we want something to look. So there are three main types of selectors in HTML and CSS. You can target by the element tag, you can target by a class, and you can target by an ID. So let's go over that. Let's say I would like my H1 to be underlined. So I'm not going to put a period or a hashtag sign or anything. I'm just going to put H1 and my curly braces. And what that means is target my H1 here. Target any element that has the tag H1 in it. And now I'm going to put my curly braces. Now anything in those curly braces are going to style my H1 tag. So I am going to use a CSS property called text decoration. And in that text decoration, VS Code's trying to help me out, right? And it's showing all of my different options. But I'm going to say underline. And what that's going to do is underline my H1. Okay, so we used a selector This selector that we happen to use was the HTML tag, and this is going to apply to any H1 on the page. We then used a CSS property. We happen to use text decoration. We use color down here. There are a couple hundred CSS properties, but the common ones I'm pretty sure I also listed in the week 2, day 1 outline. So common ones that you would be using: color, text decoration, background, border, margin, padding. All of those we are going to see in use as we do our projects. And you're going to see, all right, how do I want to move things around? Or what background do I want to set there? Font family is another one. What font do I want to set this to? But the general flow of all CSS is that we have a selector, we have the CSS property that we want to address, and then we've got the CSS value of what we want to add to it. So now that I'm here, let's say that I would like to turn this paragraph and this paragraph pink. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a property to my HTML element, and I am going to call it a property or an attribute. You can call them one and the same. And I'm going to add a class to it. And that class I'm going to add to it is going to be called Pretty Pink. And I'm going to take that class and I'm also going to apply it to my paragraph 2 down here. Now, in order to make that turn pink, right, because if I save, nothing's changing. I haven't written the CSS yet. I've just gone into my HTML and made it so I've got a hook, a selector, that I can use to target that element and make it pink. So because I'm using a class in my CSS, that is going to be a period. And I'm going to say pretty pink. And I'm going to say my color is now going to be pink. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to come over here. And now I've made this and this pink.
Is there a reason why you named it Pretty Pink?
No, I could name it Ugly Pink as long as I change it ugly here and ugly here. Notice if I forget to change it here, I will get one of them in pink, but because I don't have any CSS selectors using Pretty Pink anymore, this is now no longer pink. So whenever you use a selector, you also have to go into your CSS, and your CSS is how your CSS selectors are how your CSS is hooking into your HTML to style it. So the last one I want to touch on is an ID. And the difference between a class and an ID is that you can use classes multiple times. So if I wanted to style multiple paragraphs in pink, I would use a class. But if I want to target one thing and one thing only, I'm going to use an ID. So the ID has to be unique across all of your HTML. So I'm going to use an ID here. And let's just do it on our H4 to prove a point here. I'm going to add an ID here, and I'm going to say this is called BG yellow for background yellow. But because I'm using an ID, I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to use a hashtag because the pound sign or the hashtag is what correlates to an ID. And I'm going to say BG yellow, and then I am going to say my background is going to be yellow. I'm going to save that. Now this is yellow as my background for that H4. And the name of your ID or class does not have to match what properties you're using in the CSS. If you really wanted to confuse people, you could call this background blue and call this background blue. And the only thing that needs to line up here is the ID and the name. So just because I called this BG blue and BG blue up here, well, BG blue is still using a background of yellow. So let's just turn this to green. And when you come over, it's green, even though I called my ID BG blue. Right? So this is just lining up with this right here. So the ID lines up with the hashtag. The name of the ID lines up with our CSS up at the top. And then whatever CSS properties and values we want to use in here, we can. So just to not confuse anyone, we're going to change that back to blue, and we get our blue website. Okay, questions on that? That a helpful CSS review?
I just want to be sure. So I feel like I already know this, but so the style is the CSS. Like,
correct.
You don't have to have the word CSS in there.
Correct. Yeah, this style, anything that comes between a style tag, the browser knows is going to be CSS.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
And if you hover over it, oh, I'm surprised it doesn't say that it's CSS. But yes, style tag is always going to be CSS. Okay, so we're going to go one step further on our review, and then we're going to go through an exercise of converting a mock-up into a gridable wireframe. Okay, so the last thing we covered was Bootstrap. So I am going to go to getbootstrap.com and go to Get Started and scroll down to this CSS link and copy it and come over to my index.html and paste it in. And when I save that, you'll notice in my browser, all of a sudden my fonts changed a little bit, right? They're not Times New Roman. That's because Bootstrap is giving us some of their stuff by default right out of the box. So Bootstrap is used, we're using it for two primary purposes. One, as a component library, and two, as a grid system. So let's start with the component library. I'm going to go back to the Bootstrap website. I'm going to click on Docs, and I'm going to go over to Components. Now, I can use any component here, and obviously some components are more complicated than others. But let's just look at a button. A button here is using the same HTML that we just used, but it's applying classes to it, just like we apply classes, but these are classes that are built into Bootstrap. So we can just copy and paste this button in, and we are guaranteed for it to look like our primary button. So if I come back over here, I'm going to go back to my body, I'm going to paste in a button, and now you see my button is here. But we don't just have to copy and paste. We could actually do that from scratch. We could come in here and say, hey, I'm going to make a button, and I'm going to say it is my ugly button. I'm going to save it, and by default, we get an ugly button. But by just coming in here and adding a class, we need to know what the classes are called in Bootstrap. So we're going to go back to the Bootstrap website. It is called BTN and BTN Primary, but let's use BTN Warning. So I'm going to say BTN and BTN Warning. Now, if I wasn't using Bootstrap, I would need to go up to my CSS and start styling all of that out. Setting my background in, setting border radius, adding some kind of hover effect. But because we are using the classes that are built into Bootstrap, when I come over here, I get my ugly button. And it's not so ugly anymore. So that is a Bootstrap component. Any questions on components?
Can I just see the code again behind that really quick?
Yep.
So how did you get it yellow?
I used BTN Warning instead.
Oh, and it just automatically gives you a color of the button?
Yeah, because if you look here are all of the colors listed out, and then the examples of what they will show up like.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so the last system we used is the grid system.
I have one question.
Yeah.
With the button colors, can you change that within Bootstrap? Like make primary always be green?
You can. They've got a entire theming system that you can go into and customize. It's called SAS, SASS, or SCSS. Are the two file extensions, and you can go in and modify those colors. We won't go into theming too much of Bootstrap, but you definitely can set the primary color to whatever you want and then have it apply to all the components everywhere. That tends to be a little bit easier when we get into React, But it is totally possible in their documentation. If you go to customize, you'll see that there are options and for like color. And then if you modify, you can't use the link tag to bring it in, but if you download Bootstrap and bring it into your site manually, you can modify the files inside of it and then change what like the primary colors are going to be. So it requires a little bit of setup, but what you can do is you can override this, right? So I can take my BTN warning, come up to my CSS and say, I want my warning not to be yellow. I want the background color to be purple. And so you can always write your own CSS that will override it and set it in there.
Thank you.
But yes, it is entirely possible. It requires a little bit more understanding of CSS to modify their files directly instead of overriding it in your CSS, but totally possible to do.
Thanks.
No problem. Okay, any other questions? Yep, go ahead.
Yes, quick question. Following along, I'm looking at your code and I have an error in my, I'm sorry, 1 second, because I'm toggling between screens. But I have an error in my H4 line and I'm not sure why, because it looks exactly like yours.
Go ahead and share your screen.
All right, let's see if I could. Okay. So share, and then I'm sorry, let me F3. So this is my code.
You are missing a closing arrow right here. So you open your H4,
gotcha.
but you didn't close it.
I didn't close it. So I had to close on both. And okay.
Yep. And then just delete that extra closing tag out that it generated for you. Oh no, leave that one in. And then delete out this H4 without the, yeah. And one more.
It won't let me.
Oh, click back into Zoom. Sorry, sometimes when I draw on the screen, it gets finicky.
Oh,
there you go.
Okay.
And then save and check in your browser, and you should be good to go.
Okay. I guess it look. Oh no, my ugly button didn't turn yellow, but I can catch the code. And
that's because you don't have Bootstrap linked in your head.
Oh, okay. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and do that. Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions? Okay, so let's go over the grid system, and then we will be fully caught up on our review. So the grid system is built into Bootstrap, and if we go to Bootstrap's website and click on Layout, and then go down into the grid, all of this code is showing us how we can use the grid. So grid rows and columns, you cannot use columns unless they're in a row. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom of my code, and I'm going to say I've got a div class row. And inside... Are you supposed to be
sharing your screen?
I sure am.
Thank you.
Supposed to be. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, so we've got our div class row, and we're going to do a div class call. And we're going to make sure that it's inside of our row, and you notice our indentation is already right? We're going inside the row. And then we're going to do another div class call. And we're going to say column 1 and column 2. And now when I look at my code in my browser, I've got column 1 over here and column 2 over here. And because we didn't specify a size, they're going to be equal width. But it's kind of hard to see where those are, right? So I'm going to go back up to my styles, and I'm going to add my row, and I'm going to say that is going to be a border 2px solid blue. And then I'm going to go target my columns. And my columns, I'm using periods. Why am I using periods? Because they are classes down here. So that's what I'm targeting. And then in here, I'm going to say my border is going to be 2px dashed green. So now I come over here, I see my row, which is my solid, and my 2 columns. I'm just going to zoom out just a tiny bit. Really, whenever we use the grid system, we should put everything in a container class. So I'm going to add that now. The container is literally what just holds all of our Bootstrap code. And I'm going to add that closing div down here and then just indent everything over. And that's going to fix any scroll issues that I had going on at the bottom. Okay, so we see our 2 equal size columns. Now, let's say I would like this column to be 25% and this one to be 75%. I'm going to take 12 and I'm going to divide it into 4. And that means that's a 3 column, right? So if we did 3, 3, 3, 3, that would all add up to 12. But I'm going to adjust this column to take up 3 of the 12 available spaces. And I would like this column to take up 9 of the remaining spaces. So I just need to adjust my CSS up here to target my 9 and my 3. And now this column is taking up 25% of my screen. This one's taking up 75% of my screen.
Can you zoom out a little bit? Thanks.
Okay, now I could adjust that, right? If I wanted to add in another column of another size, I could add it in here. Now, the last part that we want to touch on the column system is that we can make them different sizes for different screen sizes. So what I can do is I can say, hey, on an extra small screen, I want this to be full width. But on a medium-sized screen or larger, I would like it to be, let's go back to our 25%. Same thing down here. On a full width, or on a tiny screen, I want it to take up the full width. Otherwise, I would like it to take up 9 spaces. So I just need to adjust my CSS up here to target those classes. And now when I refresh, this is considered a small enough screen. This isn't medium, right? So 12, it's taking up the full width. But if I expand my window out, now it goes to use 3 and the 9 width. And now if I shrink this back down, you'll see it goes back to my 12 and my 12. And I could adjust that, right? I could say, oh, I want this to be 6 and this to be 6. And just update this here. And now, on a small screen, it's going to make a little liar out of me. 6. Is my border breaking it? No. My row border breaking it? No. Okay, I'm very confused. That should have worked. Okay, I've got no idea why that's not working.
What were you doing, Max?
I'm trying to get them right next to each other, and... Okay, that's working.
Is it just because your screen is smaller, like the window? The browser?
Maybe I need to say... target more...
Yeah, your browser window is not the width of the screen, so I thought maybe that was why.
Yeah, but if it's extra small and I'm down at that level, it should be still put... Oh, you know what it is? Let's just take out some of the text. I bet you there just isn't enough room.
That would be weird, though, I feel like. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why that isn't working. But you should be able to stack multiple columns together there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Unless I need to reverse them. Nope, I've got no clue why those aren't working. But in theory, that should work. Sorry, bad example. I've got nothing. Body. Div. Row. I have no idea why that isn't working. I will fix that and get back to you guys of why you can't stack those together. But you should. The theory stands of basically you should be able to target different column widths for different sizes of the screen. Okay, any questions on Bootstrap Grid? Do we see why we would use it or try and get things laid out the way we want to? Okay, so let's actually put that into practice. We are going to pull up the outline. And in the outline, I've got a link to the website mockup. And that should look like this. Okay, give me 1 second. I will be right back. I just have to adjust something.
I was in a rush leaving out for work this morning. Like, am I not allowed to be a human?
Okay, sorry about that. So, do we already start to see a grid developing here? Let's download this file. And I'm actually going to open up Keynote and do this in Keynote, although you could do this in diagrams.net if you wanted to. Whatever is easiest for you. So I'm just going to create a new presentation. I'm going to do it on, just delete everything out. I'm going to grab my image and drag it in. By the way, you don't have to follow along here. This is just an exercise in kind of seeing where the grid lays. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my 960.gs website that we used before, hit the big old download button, pop open the zip, open this, go to my templates, and I'm going to use, I think it was Fireworks. I'm going to grab my 16 col, and I'm going to just drag and drop it into Keynote. And then I'm going to try and position it so my grid is overlapping with my image, and I'm just going to say send to back. And now, all of a sudden, I know the image isn't transparent, but hopefully you start to see how rows form. So where do you think our first row is?
The top half.
You got it. So I am just adjusting our boxes here. So we're going to have our first row here. And our second row should hopefully obviously be down here, right? So we've got our 2 rows. Now let's look at our columns. So I'm going to do columns in blue. And where do you think our first column is going to be?
On Tuesday?
At the cloud.
At the cloud. Yep, we want to start at the left and work our way over. So that is going to roughly be a 2 column. Okay, now where's our next column going to be?
48 degrees.
And if you pay attention to where this red is hanging out, you can actually see that's another 2 column, right? So let's keep going. Our next one is going to be right here. And that looks like another 2. And then we've got this giant one over here, which is going to come all the way over, and that's going to be our last one. Okay, so we've got a col 2, a col 2, a col 2, and a col 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, now let's see what's going on down here. This looks like a col 2-ish to me, and if we take these and just go across... Yeah, there's 17, 18, 17. We end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 divided by 12 is not going to be an even number. It's going to be 2.4. So we're going to talk about a little bit in Bootstrap about how we're going to address that and make a system like this work. Because if you notice, Friday, it looks centered there, but Friday's hanging over 1, 2, 3 columns and is not right in line. But everything up here is lining up perfectly with our grid system, right? So that's what we're going to dive into code-wise. We're going to get our grid working here, and it's going to be really ugly at the end of tonight because we're spending time tomorrow on getting all of this to be styled correctly. But what we want to get tonight is just things laid out in the right spot. So let's dive into that. I'm going to minimize this and close out of some of my grid stuff. And I'm going to make a new file in VS Code. So I'm going to click the little new icon here, and I'm going to call this weather.html. And this is where you should start following along with me and paying attention, because tomorrow we will be submitting this as a homework assignment. So if you are following along and you're connected to my live share, you should be able to pop open this weather.html. And that should show you this blank document. And I'm going to hit !enter. And that's going to drop in our template for us. So you should be in your code window creating a new file called weather.html, following along, typing your ! Hitting the enter button, getting our template. I'm going to call this weather. And then in my browser, I'm going to go to my live code, and this is my index, right? This is what we've been playing around with. So I'm going to go up to the URL and just change it to weather.html, and I should get a blank page with the word weather up at the top of the tab.
What was that key called to get everything to pop up quick? You said ! Enter.
! And then just hit the enter button, and that should fill it in for you.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm going to start a poll and just make sure you guys are following along. So you should just have a blank page that says weather up at the top of the tab. And if you're stuck or lost somewhere, just shout out and we can help you.
Question. I'm trying to get the weather on that side, and for some reason it's not there.
So do you have weather? Do you have your weather in your file path?
No.
Okay, so go ahead and change your URL to weather.html.
Uh-oh. You made a whole new.
Any other questions? Markel, I can send you off with Caitlin if you need to catch up.
When we're creating these new files, are we saving the old ones? Like, I don't want to just keep closing them if they can be useful.
Yeah, so you can close out any of your files as long as they're saved, And if you make a change to a file and try and close it, it will pop up and say, "Are you sure you want to save this?" And so you can just hit yes on that, and it will save it. So when you open it, it's still there.
So Max, at this point, we're just supposed to be able to see your weather HTML and the split thing, and then on our end, we should just see weather at the top. Is the title?
Correct, and you should have created your own weather file in your MyCode files, and have the weather showing up on yours as well.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so we got most of our votes in. Last chance for questions. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to pull in our Bootstrap. Now, we can go to getbootstrap.com and get it, but because we already had it in our index.html, I'm just going to copy that whole link from our index.html, go right under my title tag, and drop in my link. And now, in here, I can do a div class equals container, and again, that container is coming from Bootstrap, and Bootstrap just likes it that whenever we use a row or a column, that we have it in this container in the first place. So I'm going to start my first div class equals row, and not even looking at our weather mockup, I want to just know that our 2 columns are working. So I'm going to do another div class equals col, and I'm going to say col1, and I'm going to do another div class equals col, and I'm going to do my col2. If I look over here, I've got col1 and col2 side by side. So again, that was add in the link tag to our Bootstrap so that when we use container or row or column or any of the Bootstrap classes, the browser knows, hey, go pull in the Bootstrap CSS. We're going to reference that. We're going to put everything in a div class container. We put everything in a container because Bootstrap doesn't like us using the grid system without the container. Then we're going to make our first row because we can't use any columns unless they're inside of a row. Then we're going to make 2 columns, but we're going to be careful and make sure that our columns are not in each other, and we've got 2 divs still inside of our row showing column 1 and column 2. And we know our Bootstrap is working over in the browser because they're side by side and not on top of each other. So I know it seems like overkill. I'm starting the poll over again, making sure you guys are following along so far.
Is it possible, and I know that you're using like different screens, but can you like put them, or do you have rectangle where you can like split the screens so we can see both?
Yeah,
because
so you should
like
have
midway typing the code and then you'll switch to the.
So you should have MyCode open using the live share feature and be able to go to MyCode in another window and see all of my code.
Well, my live share feature was not working, so
okay,
that's
let me just copy and paste it in for you. I'm putting it in the live stream channel because I can't have both of them open on my computer and have them zoomed in. So I just copied and pasted it into live share. I'm sorry, into the live stream channel in Slack. All right, where are we at? You guys want a couple minutes? Or are you good to continue here? Christy,
I need a few more seconds.
Yep. No problem, Stadia.
I'm a slow typer, but I'm still right behind you.
Okay.
That the link href that you copied. So
yes.
I got all of that, but then did you type in the where it says integrity and cross origin, or was that copied from somewhere?
That copied in from the link as well.
Mine didn't do that.
So just go back to your index.html if you have it and make sure that you've copied this whole line going all the way over. Or you can also go to getbootstrap.com, click on Get Started, and then hit the copy button right down here.
That's what I thought I did. That's what I thought I did, and then I don't think I did it right.
I was able to copy that link right from your live share.
Perfect.
As well.
That's what I did.
All right. Okay.
Yep, we're all getting the same Bootstrap. So wherever you get the link is completely fine. Give everyone just one more minute. I'm waiting for one more vote in the Zoom poll, and then we'll keep going.
Oh.
Hey Max, my cow 1 and cow 2 is on top of each other. What line can I look into to get it?
Make sure you got your link tag, and make sure your link tag starts with an opening arrow, and if you scroll all the way over, it should have a closing arrow at the end of it.
Okay.
If you've got all of that, what you want to look into next is that you've got a container, and inside that container you've got a row, and inside of that row you've got 2 columns that are not within inside of each other.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out now. Thank you.
And so, yeah, on mine it's 12 through 24, and if you're having trouble on any of that, let me know and you can share your screen and we can take a look.
Okay.
I need a breakout because I'm like, it's like I'm forgetting certain commands, and I need to be able to at least so I can get back.
Sure. I think Caitlin just broke out into another room, which is why I don't see her here. Let me...
Hey, that's fine. Can you just tell me how to make a new file?
Yep. You're going to hover over the Explorer over here, and right up at the top, there should be a new file icon.
So how do I know? Oh, because it's already... But how do you do that when you're in... like if I go through like Finder and then go to my application, and it seems like this should be so simple for me to know, but this Mac is like blowing my mind. Like I know Windows so much better. This is like irritating. Okay, so yeah, how do you do that? And if I go to applications and click like if I go through Finder and click the documents through that way, how would I?
Yeah, so think about it. Even in Windows, you've never created a new file from Windows Explorer or from your desktop.
Okay.
Right, and that's because when you create a new file, you have to create the new file in a program that you would like that file to be saved as, right? So you've never created a Word document from your desktop. You've gone into Microsoft Word and then gone to File, Save, and that's how you've created the Word file. The same thing goes on the Mac. So if you want to create a new file in VS Code, you need to be in VS Code. You need to open the folder to tell it where you're working in VS Code. And then when you click on the new file button in VS Code, it's going to make it in that folder for you. So the only way you can make a new file, right? And think about even on a PC, right? Like if you wanted to make a basic text file, you would have to open up Notepad, and then once you were in Notepad, you would be able to save it. So in VS Code, all you need to do is go to File, Open Folder, navigate to your Day 3 folder and hit Open there. And that's going to make D3 show up in the File Explorer over here. And then you can click on the new file here, and that's what's going to create the file.
Okay.
All right, we've got enough votes going on here, so I'm going to just go a little bit further tonight, and then we'll call it a night. So I'm going to pull back up my mockup. My mockup has a little cloud icon. It's got our 48, it's got our details, and it's got our location, right? So we're not going to get all of that content in. All we want to do tonight is get that content laying out properly. So what I'm going to do, I know I'm kind of running out of screen space here. Let me see if I can keep this. I know that's kind of tiny, but we know we've got a 2, a 2, a 2, and a 6. So let's just try and get that loaded in right. I'm going to set div class equals col, and I just deleted out any of the col1, col2 that I had, but left my row in my container. So I'm going to do a call here, and I'm going to say clouds. Then I'm going to do, and that was a 2. Now I'm going to do another div class equals call, and that's another 2, and that's going to go for my temp. And I'm just going to keep rolling here, right? Class equals call 2, and that's going to be my details. And then I'm going to have one final class that's going to be a 6. And that's going to be my location. I'm going to save. I'm going to come over here. I got my cloud, my temp, my details, and my location. But I don't really know if those are working, right? So I'm going to just come up to my head tag, add a style, and I'm going to target my col2 and my col6. So I put a little comma up at the top there to say I want my 2s and my 6. And I would like that to be a border 2px solid blue. And now I can see my clouds, my temp, my details, and my location. If I make this a little bit bigger, I should be able to see that's exactly what I wanted. Now I want my location over on the right, and I want obviously the temperature showing up and all of that stuff. But I've got it in there laid out. I've got my grid working. So I'm going to push for one more thing, and then we're done for the night, and I'll stick around and help with any questions that we have. I want another row showing up, and in that row, I want my 5 days worth of temps, right? So I'm going to come down here, and now this is super important. I don't want to be inside this row anymore because I'm making a new row to be underneath there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my cursor here, and if I click into the div, you see how this div is now highlighted in gray? What that's doing is it's telling me this opening div matches this closing div down here. So I know that my next row needs to be right here. And if I line up my indentation, I now see this starts and ends here. And now my next row is starting down here. And so the trick we're going to use, because we already identified, hey, we've got 5 days worth of weather we're showing up here. How do we make 5 divisible by 12? The trick is you just don't add a size. If you don't add a size to the columns, they're all going to be equal size. So I'm just going to come in here and say Monday, copy and paste these down and say Tuesday, Wednesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and everyone's favorite day, Friday. Now that looks right, but I want to add my style back to it. So I'm going to go up to the top. I'm going to just add a dot col, and now I see my days properly aligned. Now we need to do a lot more work to get the content in, to get things centered out, to get pictures showing up. We're going to do all of that. We're going to do all of that tomorrow. All that you need to do tonight is have it to this point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this code. I'm going to update it in the live stream channel so you got a copy of it. And if you have gotten to this point where you've got 2 rows showing up and everything is laid out just like you see here, you are good to go. You're done for the night. I will see you tomorrow. No need to turn in this homework assignment because we're going to add to it tomorrow, and that's going to be your final submission. I know I went a little fast at the end there, but I just wanted to get us over that finish line, get us to this. So, opening it up to any questions. And if you're done, if you have it working, feel free to stick around for other student questions, but you're also welcome to head out of here. I'm going to leave this code up. I'm going to just zoom out one level, and I don't know where the best point on my screen is to leave it. So hopefully the live share is enough. And I'll also, one last thing I'll do, I'll post a screenshot of it so you have an idea of what your finished product should look like. Not that one, this one.
Oh, I'm not even muted. Um, all the way up in the beginning, when I went back to get that the copy from your Bootstrap, my style is red, and so because my style is red,
just go ahead and share your screen for me.
Okay, let me find. Why does this always do this to me? So,
your screen share is oddly coming in as just black. So if you stop your screen share and restart it, that normally fixes the problem.
Okay, wait 1 second. Stop share. Screen share. I don't think that's mine. I'm trying to find mine. Is it still black?
It is.
Oh boy. It's the screens.
It's black for everyone else, right? It's not just me.
You know what I'll do? I will.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So I will go back to what you put in the live and compare it in that because it.
And if you're still stuck, you can just copy and paste your code into Slack, and I can review it that way.
Okay, I'll do that because I got to figure these screens out. Probably need 4 screens.
I will say two screens has been my limit. After 2 screens, I don't find myself being any more productive. But it takes 2 28-inch screens or 3 24-inch screens in order for my workflow to work. So I'm a monitor hog. I love my monitors, but everyone is different.
I like being able to look at different screens. I just need to understand where everything is. It's not the screens are good. It's just the chaos of where is everything. So
you'll settle in.
Max.
Yep.
So it might not be that big of a deal, but I got all the coding, but my weather column thing, it's just showing up kind of funny. Like,
go ahead and share your screen. Let's take a look.
1 second. Like, if you compare it to the one that was on there.
Yeah, so you've got something like not lining up. So let's take a look at your HTML, and you've got okay, so first of all, let's fix your indentation because that's going to be the first problem. So we've got this div opening right here. Where does that closing div belong? So first of all, if you click on the word div inside that tag?
Yeah.
Look at other divs on your page and see something else highlighted. So look at line 30. You see how that div is kind of highlighted differently? Okay, hold on.
Oh, you said line 30? 1 second.
So click right here on the div, on the word div, and now look at line 30. You see how that's highlighted differently? That's trying to tell you that those 2 divs match up. So this div up here should be on this line right there.
Okay. So just delete it from here, or?
Oh, no. It should be there. Go ahead and put that back.
Okay.
Okay, yep, you're good. So just put your cursor right here and hit the delete key to get your div to be on this line right there. Perfect. Okay, now you put your cursor right here. I can't draw. Put your cursor on the closing div line, which is this one right here.
Okay.
And then hit delete. Okay, now you can see this div starts here, runs all the way down here, and is over. And now, because each one of these are lined up at the right spot, you know all of those columns are inside this row up here.
Okay.
Okay, so now let's do that down there. Yeah, so go ahead and delete that one out. So that should be perfect.
I never knew that like made that much of a difference.
So it doesn't to the computer, it does to you. So go ahead. Yep, you're on the right track. And then if you just highlight, put your cursor here and highlight all the way up to here. So highlight, but not the row. So start on 35 and go all the way down to 49.
To 49.
35 to 49.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And now if you hit Shift Tab, it's going to move those over for you in the opposite direction. Okay, so that's perfect. Now all of those are lining up. Now, let's look at 31. Did you mean to have 3 rows?
Oh, I see. No, I didn't. So remove this one right here.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah,
All
I
right.
don't know why I did that.
And go ahead and save, and let's take a look in your browser.
Okay. Let's see. Come on.
3-finger swipe over to your browser, and there you go.
Awesome. All right, appreciate it.
Very good work.
Okay, let me just get out of here.
And hopefully that's a warning for everyone of if something is kind of working but it doesn't look quite right, go back and check your indentation. Make sure your indentation is lining up, because if your indentation is lining up, it's much easier to catch where you've got extra divs and you shouldn't have them. And that indentation is something, by the way, as you start writing your code, anytime you create a new tag and hit the enter button, it's like, all right, hold on. Is my indentation where I should be? And if it is, all right, great, let me go create my new components, right? But trying to get your indentation right as you write the code is much easier than going back to fix the code. Christy,
so the finished product you looking like?
The finished product should be in the live stream channel. And it should be 2 rows of basically a bunch of blue columns. Christy, you are still sharing black and only black.
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
Cool. You got it, Chaz, as in you got it to work, or you got it as in you know what it's supposed to look like?
Oh, I got it to work.
Oh, awesome. Good, yeah. Good work.
All right.
Christy, if you're still stuck just because you can't screen share, just copy and paste your code either in the live stream channel or direct message it to me and I can take a look. And I know I'm pushing this, but gauging how class is going is super important. If you have a second, once you have celebrated your code hopefully working, go to the 30-second live feedback in Canvas and drop me a note. And Jesse sees it and the Hack Upstate staff. It's not just me, but fill out that quick 30-second feedback form. Give me an idea of how class went today, what concepts you didn't get, what we need to spend more time on tomorrow, all of that good stuff.
Hey, Max.
Yes.
It looks like I'm missing a div in line 49. And for some odd reason, when I try to put it in, it keeps like going over to my body. So it's not really letting me put that in, if that makes sense.
Go ahead and share your screen. Let's take a look.
All right. Share my screen and 3, 1. Alrighty, so right here was a div after Friday.
Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing of let's get your indentation fixed, because oftentimes when you do get that fixed, it's gonna fix a lot of problems. So without me doing anything on the screen, tell me where your indentation starts to go wrong.
Let's see, line 7. Let me move up to line 17. It's on yours last week. Sorry. Okay. Line 17. This body.
So you should be able to tell that by just looking at your own code and not having to look at mine.
Okay. So is it like line 30? No, line 31 seems like it's. Oh, here. This.
So here, let's look at it like this. Your div opens here and it closes here, and we can draw a line from the top to the bottom, and that all lines up perfectly.
Right.
Okay, so now we know, but what does this div close out?
It should be closing all of this, right?
But what is it closing?
Hold on. Sugar. I'm sorry, don't kill me. I'm lost and I can't tell.
Okay. Opening div, closing div. Opening div, closing div. Opening div, closing div. Opening div, whoa, closing div. How do we get over there?
Okay, so then I should
just tab that over one. Okay,
okay.
Now we've got this all lining up. Great. So we're going to move on. Now we open a new div. What's going on here? Why is that indented?
So it should come back over to this line.
Yep. And now tell me where your closing div is for that row.
Over here, and that shouldn't be. So either that need to come out because it look like it's two. Right?
Yeah, I think you need to take that out and now get your column, your Monday column, indented properly. So this needs to come over to here.
Okay. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. When I
no,
draw,
it's okay. When you draw it. Okay. So then the Monday should come.
Yep. And now if you highlight 36 all the way through 47.
Is it highlighted?
Yeah. Down to 47 and just hit the tab button once. Now that's going to get all of that to line up. So that's all looking good. Now we can tell something's going on. We've got one closing div. Oh, whoa. We got lots of bodies there. So go ahead and delete all of those bodies out.
Oh, yeah.
So we should only have one body. We don't like multiple bodies.
I think when I was trying to put the div in, it might have been creating them for me. I'm like, what is going on?
Okay, and so now, one more. Okay, so now we can tell if we follow this line all the way up, I can't draw straight, but if you follow all the way up, tell me what div that's closing.
My container.
Yep. And so we can follow this line all the way down, and what are we missing?
Oh, a closing div for this right here.
Yep.
So this should come over, right?
No, that one's for the column. So after 47, hit and enter.
And then put another div in.
Yep. Slash div.
And then, yep. Okay, I'm like,
and then just
so it should be.
shift tab that over. And now go check in your browser.
All right, let's
save first.
Yeah, I'm like, let me save it.
All right, you're good to go. You're just missing your. Oh yeah, perfect. You're just missing your styles on that blue column. But your layout is all right. You've got valid HTML, so you're just missing a style tag to get it to show up in blue.
Okay, I'll run back through fix that.
Got mine up too, so we're all set.
Awesome. Good work, Wayne.
Wait, so can we ask the question still or no?
No, I'm done with all of you. Nah, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna show my screen really quick.
Technically, I'm on the clock for another 2 minutes. I'm gonna stop recording though.